So, Lucio, what are we making tonight?
Tonight's fare consists of stuffed portobello mushroom with a Fiorentina style stuffing of spinach, a little bit of beef, and some cheese and breadcrumbs and a little bit of herbs. And that will be these here, these wonderful, beautiful portobello.
That's some beautiful bella.
We take this guy off and then we stuff him. But now we first have to cook down the spinach and the meat right over here. And of course,
Just olive oil.
this is olive oil, a little bit of garlic, a few little spices, some salt and pepper, and we're gonna let these guys cook down a little bit more so they're nice and easy to chew on. And we're gonna grill up some of these asparagus right about here in a moment, as soon as we get this turned on. And then once these are stuffed, those are stuffed, we have some onions that we're going to make a onion and tomato salad.
Wait, I see a pineapple. What's going to happen to the pineapple?
Well, that pineapple, we're going to take it and we're going to slice it and we're going to put it on this grill here, and then we're going to grill it, and we're also going to marinate it in some mango juice.
Naked juice.
Yes, as it marinates with a few spices and a little bit of chili flakes. So it's going to be just, that's your dessert.
Cool.
That's dessert. There's your salad, and there is your entree. Now, if you want to get back to me, once I start putting the meat and all the stuff, I'll see you then.
All right, so I noticed you got portobellos. Now, sometimes I scrape them out, sometimes I don't. What's the difference?
So you're talking about the gills. What happens is most of the time, depending on the type of mushroom that you're using, it can be slightly bitter, slightly a bit sweeter. You never know. So depending on the dish that you're preparing, you might not want the bitterness, or you might not want the sweetness. So what you want to do is consider what dish you're making, and if this sort of gill on the type of mushroom you're using is going to be bitter or sweet, you want to make sure you correlate that with everything else you're cooking. So for this dish, in case we want these, it's got a slight little bitterness on the gills. If you were to scrape them off, it would just be a spongy, mushroom-flavored portobello. But that little bitterness will help give it. And how I bring it in balance is I will hit that with a little olive oil and a little bit of vinegar, let it marinate for a little bit, and then I will stuff them and put them in the oven. So for right now, I'm just going to take the ones that I've taken the stems off, and you might want to take the edges off. So you want to keep that in there. You don't want to mess them up. I hit them with a little, just lightly with a little bit of olive oil. And then I'll come back in here with a little bit of balsamic, and we'll drop a couple balsamic drops. And you can use any old balsamic here. We have somebody's balsamic, but it is
Safeway versus Costco.
it is balsamic at best.
Actually, I should have a decent balsamic over there.
Oh, you do? We have some.
That's right.
Oh,
Go for it. It's all right.
All right. So here's what we did. We got a little bit of that on there, and that's all you want. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of balsamic. Like I said, the gills can stay pertaining to the dish that you're making. So you don't want to necessarily take them out if they're going to enhance your dish, or you might want to take them out if they're not going to go along with what you're stuffing them with or how you're preparing them. So now we're going to continue preparing those before we get them stuffed, and we're going to add the meat and chop some of these. And we're going to get everything else going.
All right, thanks, Chef. To cry with Lucio as he goes through the onions. He's a sensitive Italian. He cries at Bambi
Oh my God!
when stamped on by Godzilla.
This is food. It's so insulting. Anyways, right now we are at the point where we're cutting some onions, and we're also going to cut some of these Roma tomatoes, a marzano they call them, but here they're your basic Italian style red tomato. But our point is to get a tomato and onion salad that is made in my hometown quite a bit. In Italy, they do this a lot. Sometimes you can add a little bit of toast to it, or what we do is a dry bagel, and we call them friselle in Italy. And we'll add a little bit of the olive oil, the vinegar, and the spices, and a little bit of oregano with the friselle, the onion, and the tomato, and it makes a very healthy, very great, easy, quick salad. So as you see now, you've got our tomatoes cut and a little bit of onions, and I'm just going to begin it by making sure we've got at least quarters to these tomatoes. We don't want full halves, but you don't want it really small because you want it to act as a salad. You don't want tiny pieces. You want nice enough pieces to eat as if it was a nice quarter size of a.
What do you do with your entrails?
Right, the entrails, when you're done, you cut them. We compost everything here, so make sure you compost. That's an order way to recycle and
Our worms will be very happy.
right, and use out in your garden. So now that we have this, we're going to grab a tiny little bowl just to show you the finished product of what we're doing. And here we've got a little bit of tomato. I'm going to throw in. I'm going to take the onions, throw them in there. All right. A little bit of olive oil that's been infused with some Tuscan herbs, and top's already off.
Thank you, Humble Oils in Carlsbad.
Sure, sure. And right, Humble olive oils right here, locally grown, local. Okay, olive oil. All right, a little bit of olive oil. You can use a white wine vinegar. You can use an apple cider vinegar. You can really use any vinegar as long as it's got a good flavor. But if you're going to go with balsamic, don't go crazy with it. The acidity's really high, kind of bitter. So you want to stay with that olive oil.
Don't go crazy.
Right? A little bit of vinegar, just enough to dab on there. And now your next move is going to be the salt, a little bit of oregano, and a tiny bit of dash of pepper. So, Lucio can find the
Salt and pepper's over here.
oregano and the salt and pepper. A little bit of oregano. And a little bit of salt and pepper.
So how do you say salt and pepper in Italian?
Sale e pepe.
Sale e pepe.
Sale e pepe.
It's a great comedy show.
Much like the wrapped fruit, salt and pepper. There we are. Now, a little mix, and you're set to go.
All right, thanks, Chef.
You got it.
Now we'll go for a commercial. Hey, if you're going to die, this is a woman who can sell your policy.
Prepare for your death today. I can.
Okay, here we are. We're back from our death. Grip on food.
All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to marinate the meat. And this is the meat that's going to go in the stuffing for the portobello mushrooms. So here we have the meat. First thing you always want to start with is any meat is marinated or started. You want to make sure you salt it well enough. This is just enough to be able to make the stuffing. A little bit of salt, a little tiny bit of pepper. It's a nice dusting of that. And then olive oil. We're using here a organic extra virgin. I usually don't like cooking with extra virgin, but in this case, we're just really wanting to marinate the meat. So if it cooks off, it cooks off. And once we're at that point with the olive oil, a little tiny bit of splash of vinegar, and then a tiny little bit of the appearance. And this, you go very sparingly. You don't want to go crazy with that stuff. Very salty. And then, secret.
Secret.
If you've got a good camera or video, you can see what I'm doing. I'm not ever going to tell you my secret, but this is what I put in my meat in order to give it the greatest flavor on earth. So now that we have this prepped, we're going to add it to the spinach over here. And then we're going to start that process by adding the other items. So I'm just going to mix that and we'll get right back to you guys.
All right, sorry, your cameraman is
Welcome back, guys. All right, so I showed you what we did to prepare the meat. We have it right here. I also added some chopped onion to it. And now we're going to take it, we're going to put it right in this pan with the spinach and garlic that we prepared. And this is going to be the preparing of the stuffing. Now you have it in there. You just want to do a nice mix and get it going. Once you get this guy going, we're going to continue prepping the portobello mushroom. First, we're going to let the heat do a little bit of work on that.
Now, one of our, I'm sure this is kind of with our female viewers. How come you're actually cooking with your shirt on tonight?
Well, a little cold.
It's a little nippy. Yeah, got it.
And I can do this, or now we're going to go to the portobello. One of the things in portobello that we did, as you saw before, we hit it with a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of balsamic. But now I'm about to put them in this Pyrex and put it in the oven once I stuff them. But in order to do that, I don't want them to stick to the Pyrex. So I'm going to take the other side, a brush, a little bowl with olive oil, and I'm just going to brush the other side. Now this is a bowl that I had a little bit of garlic in, a little bit of this in that I was using, so it's okay. Those flavors will infuse. Now mushrooms are very porous and they're going to really absorb that olive oil up, which is fine, but you don't want to go too crazy. 2 brushings and you're set. I'm going to just place these guys in here because they'll be ready to be stuffed once this is done cooking. So I'm going to continue the rest. And
I noticed, by the way, that the mushrooms seem to like the ska music better.
the mushrooms love ska.
Yeah.
Now, if there was death metal, we'd have to use porcini. That's a different style.
Got it.
But now we have the asparagus. The tips, ends of the asparagus are a little too tough. Sometimes can be bitter, not much flavor to them. Sometimes they're very earthy. So what we'll do is we'll just chop off about, 2 to 3 inches off of the bottom of these guys. Let's get them all straightened down. And I don't like to waste my time. I just go right about there, right? We're also going to incorporate some of these guys chopped a little bit, some of the onions that we have left over chopped a little bit into the rest of this mixture here. So now that I have these guys prepared, I'm going to bring my pan up to temperature. Using induction, you want to really control it well, and it works really good. It heats up quick. So once they get started, we'll put it on there. We have a little bit of olive oil already prepared in the pan and primed for the pan. And once we get these guys on there, we're just going to hit them with a few spices, a little salt, a little pepper, and a little bit of chili flakes. And that's what is going to go in there as well. So we're almost there. We'll get back to you in a moment here when we get this guy done and we're stuffed. All right, so we've put the meat in the pan with the items that we prepared together. They've cooked down, they've broken down really good. Now we have to create it into a stuffing, right? So we have to kind of congeal it all together. We're going to use a little bit of about a cup's worth of just plain breadcrumbs, right? And any old shredded parmigiano, romano, asiago. We have a little bit of blend of all three here, so a little lucky evening tonight. So I'm going to put about a cup's worth, the same amount in there as that, and I'm going to incorporate it into the meat. We're going to melt it all together and make it into one big good pile of stuff that's going to really stick well to be able to put on top. And then we'll top that with the mozzarella, and they go in the oven. So now we're going to just put it I'm going to add a tiny little bit of olive oil, as a lot of it has been absorbed by the meat itself. And now we're going to mix, and this melting is going to...
The sky's affecting the camera.
And we're going to do a little mixing here, and it's going to all melt together, and it's going to really become one good solid piece that's going to bring us into that as soon as this cheese melts all nicely. And there's your stuffing that's going to go into the portobello. And in the meanwhile, looks like we've got a good temperature on that griddle. We're going to put these guys on there, and we're going to slowly start letting them roast really nicely. Asparagus, a lot of times on its own, it's really good, but the flavor can be really enhanced if you have a little bit of chili flakes, a little cayenne on there. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to wait for it to get really nice and hot, nice and warm, and then we'll add those spices. You don't want to burn the spices, you want to enhance the flavor of the vegetable with the spice, slightly, a little bit of heat to it. All right? So I think we're getting almost there. We'll stuff those portobello there in a little bit, and we have insalata, pomodoro, and onions. And we'll be getting to these guys here in just a moment. We're going to continue cooking. Don't go too far. Guys, welcome back. Now we're about to stuff the mushrooms, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with just a tiny little bit of
white truffle oil.
White truffle oil. All right. I don't want to mix that into the meat or anything like that. I want these guys to absorb it. And I'm going to put it right a little bit on each one. Not enough to cause trouble, but enough to give flavor, because this stuff is potent. Very good stuff though. Now that we have that, you notice that we have the asparagus on here. We did a little bit of chili flake and some paprika, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt. We'll hit it with some pepper towards the end, but right now it's slowly cooking. The meat's done, it's ready.
This is delicious.
And in a moment here, we're going to make a dessert that's going to consist of a fruit dessert. It's a pineapple, a little bit of onion, the mango, and we're also going to incorporate these items into it. A little bit of Worcestershire, some olive oil, and some natural fiber capsules. Just kidding.
Hey.
It happened to just be here. And a little bit of garlic. So those items, and then this wine, oh, that's for me. But the rest of that is going to all be our dessert. And we're almost there. We're going to stuff these guys in a moment. As soon as we get done with that, and right now we're just letting that cool a little bit before we start putting it in there. We'll top it with a little bit of mozzarella, and then we will have a great, great dinner.
But first, more wine.
Hi guys, welcome back. Now we're gonna top and stuff these portobello mushrooms. This is a very simple process. You don't want to go too crazy with it. You don't want to pile it up. Remember, consistency with the amounts of food you have together. You don't want too much portobello, but you don't want too much stuffing either. So we're just gonna take one scoop at a time, a little bit on there, press it in, nice and snug. Now, once it gets hot again, it'll expand and the oils will go out into the top there. So I would say about 2 paddles worth, maybe a good fist's worth in there. Then we will take it, put it into the Pyrex, and use a mozzarella to top with. Maybe just, this is your run-of-the-mill, get at the store mozzarella, nothing special. You could use a bufala, but you know, sometimes you don't want to go too crazy with that stuff.
Also, again, the buffalo's too wet, right?
It's too wet at the same time. It melts well, but at the same time, it can be a little too much for it. It's a little too, I would say, because of the high moisture, you're going to get a lot more water, but it could stay consistent. The only problem with the mozzarella when you use a bufala and the portobello mushrooms, the two flavors will not exactly mix exactly. You have to do a lot of enhancing with spices. A low skin mozzarella is very bland, so it'll just give you that background cheese, but not mix with the rest of the flavor. So great to use on all kinds of stuff. And there you'll have your beginning. We'll stuff the rest, and then we'll put them in the oven with the rest of that. Here's the asparagus, it's working. And right now you need to stay tuned a little bit. We're gonna do this, and I'm gonna cut it just like I said before. And if I'd like to add a great wine to go with this whole meal, is a nice Pinot Noir. See you guys in a bit. All right, so now we've flipped over the asparagus. We're gonna give them a little extra heat here in a moment, but in the meanwhile, we finished preparing these guys, all right? We're gonna drop these guys in the oven. We're at 350, midsection, sideways. I never try to do the long ways unless you don't have space to constitute. This sideways is the best way to get it cooked all the way through. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. All right, so we got a little left over of that stuff. We're gonna taste it a little bit and have fun with it. And now we're gonna begin this wonderful dessert that we're gonna have this evening. I would advise to always take off the tag. This is a quick cut. You don't want to mess around. It's not like you're trying to save as much as you can. You just want to really take off the sides. Not go too crazy on taking off a high amount on the sides. Make sure you got a really good knife. Get in there deep within a ½ inch because that's where you're going to hit the fruit. The rest of it will be skin. So you don't want to see these black guys. I'll go through again. You don't want to see those spots. You want to see fruit. So you got to really get in there with a pineapple. If you've ever watched the Dole Pineapple Factory, man, they take off big chunks off these guys, and you're going, man, where's my fruit? They're getting rid of it all. They're cutting it all off. No, that's actually how the pineapple is. You have to get in there deep. All right? Now I got there pretty deep. I got to also do the same thing at the bottom, so I'm going to take a big chunk. And a lot of times what people like to do with this stuff is they like to blend it and put it in marinades and sauces, and you could do that with this stuff. You can blend that stuff, put it in with some olive oil, some spices, put it in your fridge, keep it, and use it as a marinade. So it works as a great marinade because pineapple is one of the best acidic fruits to bring down meat. All right? So now we're just going to take off some consistent, nice, about a ½ inch slices that we're going to eventually put on that griddle there where you see the asparagus, because we're going to need that olive oil and chili flakes that are going to cook into this as we marinate it with the rest of this stuff. So I'll see you here in a bit, all right?
Folger's tasting. Makes you just want to dance to ska, doesn't it?
Peppermint patty dance.
Ow! Easy.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Poor guy.
so now that we've cut these guys up, we're going to exchange that asparagus for these guys. But before we do that, we're going to really crank it up on this asparagus.
Crank it up, baby. Come on, do
We're going
it.
to bring it way high because we want to get a nice little roast on there. Always make sure you know where your heat is on your pan as well. Sometimes you go, why is this taking so long? You don't realize that your pan's been moved around and it's not only getting on one side of the heat. It's a very big key to cooking. A lot of times we don't realize that. You go, what went wrong? Why didn't it cook all the way through? Pay attention to the small details. You see how this is smoking now? It's exactly what we want. I'm gonna
And incidentally, we even have a fan.
Right. So we're going to,
Because setting up
Flip
the
'em.
smoke detectors doesn't add much to the flavor.
no. So that's all we want is we want a little bit of that smoky, crazy flavoring.
Almost had a jumper.
Do not grab food off the pan with your hands. I have no feeling in my fingers, so I can do that. Okay? And once that's set up like this, boom, you got a little smoky going, a little roasty. We're gonna get that smell now. We're done. We can pull them off.
Salt and pepper?
Yeah, we can do that in the pan. It doesn't matter. Once that's set, we can throw those guys on there. See you guys in a moment. All right, so now we're gonna bring the heat down slightly on the pan, on that griddle. Bring it down a little bit. Add a little tiny bit of olive oil. If something comes out of it, oh, we're out. That was it.
We got lots.
Oh no, we've got a little bit here. You can use the Tuscan
yeah,
herb.
use that. No, we also have this you had before. Eggplant.
Oh yeah, we also have an eggplant flavored olive oil, but this stuff here, do this quick if you're ever going to use a brush because it will melt on there. So you've got to just, once you have that set up, grab your pineapples and start grilling them up. This is where we want to start adding the marinade, the olive oil, and everything else. Okay? Oh, drop it.
Jumper.
A jumper. We'll wash him off. Okay. Always a jumper. All right, we've got the hot center right here, so I'm going to keep an eye on that skinny guy because he's going to cook up quick. But in the meanwhile, we're going to start adding everything that we need to it, starting off with a little bit of the olive oil on top. We're going to take thin slices of onions, slivers of the whole round, and I'll show you what we'll do with those in a moment.
Nice sharp Cutco knife for you.
Very wonderful Cutco knife. Trying to do the thinnest possible without breaking it too much, but I will use those rings to put on there now and you'll see in a moment.
And without creating finger food.
A naked mighty mango. If you've got a good organic mango juice, great to use pure 100% mango. So there's nothing else in there but mango, and that's what I need. I need a puree mango right now, or a regular mango, but I really like this stuff. So we're gonna put it right in the dead center of each one, because we'll end up flipping these guys here in a moment. Once we've got that, we're going to take a little bit of garlic. And you want to go easy on the garlic, not too crazy, because it's going to cook in to this mango, okay? All right. Now that you've done it so, Worcestershire. Tiny little bit. Couple of drops. Now we're going to flip it a little bit here in a moment, but we're just going to make sure that it's getting a nice coloring on the bottom without going crazy and flipping it. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I want to lift one of these guys up, seeing if you get any color under there. Slightly bit, you got some lines, so it's starting to sugar a little bit. Let it do a little bit longer. Sometimes, depending on the slice and the kind of heat you're using, they're going to caramelize sooner or much later. But in any case, I want you to see something. That's a happy meal right there, my friend.
How's everything in the oven?
Let's take a look at what's going on down here. We're slow cooking at about 350, and it's slowly moving, slowly melting that cheese. Soon, we'll hit the broiler really high and make sure that top gets nice and roasted.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Now we're going to make sure that this mixture that we put on here is really nice, blended together, all smothered on. Okay? Alright. And now we're going to flip them. Little skinny spatula. Now, since I know that I'm going to need it on both sides, this is a trick I like to do. I like to do this. And put them all on top of each other. So both sides are now getting exactly what I want without using too much topping and over juicing and going crazy. I'm going to take this guy and put it up here as well. I'm just going to give it a moment, let it sit there. Because remember, the guy in the bottom hasn't gotten anything yet. After I feel pretty good about it, I'll start flipping them back. See what's going on there? Exactly what you're looking for. Okay? Get that coloring on there. It's going to happen a couple of times.
Nice.
Do a little bit more. So we'll get that right there on all of these guys. But I keep moving the pan, see?
Okay, we're back.
All right, guys, here we are back again. We're doing the pineapple dessert we talked about. Now, we've caramelized it a little bit, got a little bit of the olive oil, garlic, the mango juice. Now we're gonna hit it with nice slices of onions, and we're gonna ever so lightly put them on there. If you wanna get a close up here, take a look what's going on. We're just gonna place them on there, just like ever so. You can make sure that there's just enough to put in the center, okay? And these guys
Psychedelic, man.
is so big. All right.
Son.
We'll cut another one here in a moment. I'll place the top. I'll finish that one off here in a moment. Let's take a look here. Okay. We put the onions. Now we're going to take a little bit more of this guy and top it the same way we just did here a moment ago. Right. We're going to put a little bit more mango. All right. We're going to a little bit of Worcestershire. And of course, a bit more of this garlic. Can't find a spoon, I'll use the knife. Alright. Oh, that's because it's in there. You see the spoon in there? So, don't take medication before you start cooking.
Apparently you're not very good at spooning.
Just a little more than I wanted to go on there, but that's alright. We'll put that over here. Too much garlic doesn't kill unless you're a vampire. Alright? A little bit more garlic on this guy here. Because we're going to flip those guys in a moment when they start getting really nice. So there we go again. Then you want to take your spatula, spread it out again all over. Make sure it's spread really good. Alright? Okay. We'll see you guys in a moment here. Alright guys, welcome back. I finally flavored this guy to taste. Wanted to see what it came out like. I'm going to give it a taste now. Oh yes. Okay. Now, to these guys, we've done them so. We've topped them with the onion, the garlic, the mango, Worcestershire, and now we're going to flip them over and make them.
I didn't put Worcestershire on that one.
You did not. All right. Let's make sure we finish that off with Worcestershire. Okay. I'm going to flip all of them over just like that, keeping the onion, the garlic, everything on there. This guy's the one that's sticking more, but that's all right. Now, the last thing we want to do on this guy, on this top,
Man, it's more mango.
just a tiny bit of mango. That's it. And these guys are going to be our fruit dessert for this evening. The onion's too thick. That's okay. That can be nice. Jeff cut the onion a little too thick, right? It's still going to get that flavor, but you want to keep that onion. It's going to break down into that pineapple, so when you go to cut it, it's going to give you this wonderful flavor of sweetness and yet a veggie background.
See, Jeff had this other theory. Jeff wanted to keep his fingers.
Well, it takes practice. Look, I'll show you. It's very simple. You grab it with almost your nails. You use your top first knuckle.
I saw it. Still the heads of a sturgeon.
Right, no, and you can hold it with the knife itself, but you know, when you're down to this sort of size, place yourself, stick your fingers like this, use your first knuckle, this guy here.
I did.
Right, you did. Dig your nail in if you have to, and you can get a very thin, very, very, very thin
Like
slice.
I said, we weren't shooting for finger food. You could do this.
All right, look, here we go, look. You just want to...
I can always sew you up, remember?
Oh, that's what you're here for. But that's what we were looking for right there.
Converse is not the case.
If I cut myself, you sew me up. If you're hungry, I'll feed you. But this is pretty much done here. Okay.
All right, so now we get the broiler going.
Right, and we put the broiler on, getting a nice golden color on those guys. These guys are now done. They're perfect. We're going to pull them out. We're going to shut off the oven first and make sure that they rest a little bit. These guys are pretty much done. You can eat them this way if you want. It's all up to you. I'm going to put them on a nice tray. You can serve them out that way. So to find a good place tray.
I thought there was stuff down here. Here.
Oh, perfect.
I'll give you a hand.
2 hands, right there. Okay. Get these guys off. You see kind of what happened to them, and you'll notice it in the center here. What we're really looking for is a caramelized onion with a caramelized, and it's sticking to my really bad, to caramelized.
Caramelizing's good too, though, right?
Caramelized. Oh, my English is not the perfect. Okay. Now you see what you have here is going to be our dessert. Jeff's I'm going to cook a little bit more because the onion was a little bit thicker. And you're in the center too, so. Alright, so that's done. Let's this guy's out here, we'll clean up the plate a little bit.
So let's put that over here, and you have a workspace for the.
Right.
Ooh, pretty.
Alright guys, so dinner's been finished, ready to go, ready to eat. Here's Jeff's dish. We have a portobello. We have the asparagus that we grilled, nice and spicy with the red chili flakes. And we have what we call our bechamel salad in Italian. Little onion, a little bit sweet red onion, and tomato. And of course, here we have the asparagus. And now, we're going to make sure the rest of the people are served. And of course, the dessert, as you see in the center of our table, was the pineapple we had prepared for this evening with the onions. So
That's dessert.
yes. You ever had onion in the dessert? Now you have.
Not yet.
As we serve everybody else here, get ourselves prepared. Would you like 3 or 4?
Yes.
You're going to get your.
I got 5.
Yes, you got 5. I'll take 4. I'll take 3 because I'm modest like that.
Because you don't want your pee to stink that much.
That's right. My urine does not need to smell that much. Salute.
Salute.
The Pinot Noir will go great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucio.
Bon appetito. Guys, how you doing? Now we're gonna have the dessert, and we have the pineapple and that's caramelized with the onion. And here we have a little bit, just a little bit of strawberry cinnamon fig spread. All right, and I also have a little bit of mascarpone. All right, and we have in here some of that spread that I put in there, and a little bit of whipping cream. Right there, you see it? Heavy whipping cream. I'm gonna take mascarpone, and I'm gonna put probably a good amount in there so we can all have some spread on there. I don't want it to be as thick as that mascarpone is. I want it to be a little bit more runny because I want to kind of put it on there as a nice little juice. So now Jeff is really great at mixing, from what I understand, and he's going to be able to mix all this stuff here for us. Jeff, why don't you be our guest? So,
We'll hand off to the assistant photography director.
So he's going to mix that while I finish my portobello.
You know, I had a smaller beater. Not the size counts.
Oh, not the size counts. You want a small beater? I'll give you a small beater.
It's all right. I'll deal.
You know, I don't like how when you said small
Frickin' wop, you know, you could have got me.
You know, I don't like it when you said small beater and you looked at me as if
I've seen you
somehow.
in the show. You know, we had a bigger one than this.
You've seen me.
We had one bigger than this, but smaller than this.
Look, that's just the size of my beater, my friend. Is
It's the colored one, right?
Mid-size?
I'm sensing
Yeah, there is.
disappointment.
There's
Yeah,
one
there
that
is.
has like rainbow colors.
Oh, so your beaters got rainbow colors.
Burners and beaters.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, James Black, are you hearing all this?
You know, if you didn't masturbate so much, you wouldn't be blind. You could see the stuff in your
Look,
beater.
I can see within 2 feet. That's all I need. That's all I need. It's only 2 feet away from me.
Oh, look at this.
Much better.
There we go.
This is so much better.
Huh? Now, you can use that to dip it in. When you cut your pieces off, you can put it on top.
Mm-hmm. Or there was an inflection in your voice that begged for more to come out.
Well, you know, or you could usually, what I like to do is I like to have a cracker that has no salt, a plain cracker, and you spread it on the cracker and you put it on there and you cut away. It's like a crunch to a sweetness and a fruitiness. It's a dessert you won't find too many places, but
But it's wops us the way we go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Can I stop recording?
If
Or
you
are we
mix.
still like doing?
No, you wanna really get in there.
Oh
really,
boy.
really
Yeah.
get in there.
Not
Right.
enough, huh?
Right.
Just whip it.
Like you mean it.
Whip it good. Do 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 do.
Like you really miss me, honey.
Da 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 da. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, crack that whip.
Do 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 do.
Uh-oh.
Break a mother's hip. Do 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 do.
If it breaking
I don't think that's the.
No, I think it step out on the crack, break your mama's back. He's all break your mama's hip.
This is the most boring video ever.
That's good. We'll edit this crap out. Maybe.
Oh, I started doing this. Oh look, more goo. Oh, it's
More
getting
goo.
gooier.
Goo.
Goo for you.
Oh yeah, you just have to cut
Okay.
it all up and make it nice.
Oh my god.
Show me your artwork. Don't you have to make a?
Oh, that is so
Oh,
good.
that's right. Did you ever make the gesso for the you know, for the broken bones and stuff like that?
Cast.
Yeah, I
Have to
did.
mix cast and all that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
I mixed plaster. Yeah.
Plaster it.
And I got plaster too every once in a while.
Okay, I'm bored. I'm coming over here. Oh, look.
Right now, what do I do?
Snake.
What a sexy little snake.
How's it taste?
And then
Wonderful.
here.
All right.
Got
So
this
now you
one.
can take that and you can daub it on yours, and we can put it in
There's
plates.
There's plates.
So that's yours. You're gonna have yours.
And she
Put it on
was
the plate
into
first.
wax.
All right.
And she was like, so out over the whole
Here's
wax.
a swing spoon to do
So
this with.
put it on a plate.
She had her whipped cream at both ends.
Photographer, you're missing this.
Oh, photographer.
plated.
Oh,
We
okay,
plated it?
triggering board. Okay.
There you go.
Nice.
You can spread that nicely, and you can cut it nicely. And enjoy it that way.
Okay.
All right, next up.
Lori's.
I went lots with nicely.
Yeah.
Ooh, perfect.
A dollop.
A dollop.
A dollop.
A dollop.
A
A
dollop.
doll.
Dollop for your
Sorry,
thoughts.
There you go.
Holy moly.
Beautiful.
My fingers are clean. Okay.
Doctor, they are sterile. Okay. And
There's nothing sterile about this guy.
we have a lot in
I
common.
offered to get a vasectomy.
We have a lot in
Yeah.
common, my friend.
Once and then
All right.
backed away quickly.
You know what? I will get the vasectomy for you. Okay?
Thank you.
And if it works and it takes, you can benefit from it.
Okay. So,
Oh my God, I'm so
there's
full.
a lovely dessert.
There's a lovely dessert. I'm so full, and yet
There's always room for dessert.
waiting
Maybe
to hit
silly
that.
little. I don't think you're so full.
Yummy, 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 yum.